This chart tracks the average cost of living in the city over the last decade. While every other data point climbs, one single unit remains flat, priced at a fraction of the market average. That massive statistical outlier is what led Daniel to sign the lease last winter. He saw the price as a lucky break rather than a warning sign. He accepted the landlord's only condition without question. He must cover the bedroom mirror before midnight every single night. Usually, a rent drop this significant points to a structural defect or a history of neglect. Here, the defect was far more active. The first week was uneventful. The apartment felt normal, and Daniel soon began to treat the landlord's rule as a harmless superstition. One night, he finally forgot to cover the glass. At 12 a.m., the room changed. The lights began to flicker, signaling the start of the mirror's active phase. When Daniel looked at the mirror, his reflection was gone. Instead, the glass showed a room full of people in black standing around a coffin. As he moved closer, the mourners stepped aside. Inside the casket was a body wearing the same clothes Daniel had on that night. Daniel recoiled in shock. As soon as he stepped away from the glass, the image vanished and the mirror returned to normal. The mirror serves as a window into a specific grim outcome, tailored specifically to the person standing in front of it. Daniel tried to convince himself the event was a nightmare. The following night, he made sure the mirror was covered with a heavy blanket long before midnight. At midnight, the mirror produced a sound from within, 3 slow, rhythmic knocks against the glass. The blanket Daniel carefully pinned in place began to move. It slid down the surface of the glass and crumpled onto the floor by itself. His reflection was now acting entirely on its own. It stared back at him, smiling, then raised its hand while Daniel stayed perfectly still. The reflection leaned forward and whispered, "You're almost ready." The temperature in the room dropped instantly, forcing Daniel to flee the apartment. The entity's movements were no longer tied to Daniel's actions. It had moved from a passive projection to an active presence that could manipulate the room. The next day, the landlord admitted that the previous tenant had disappeared without a trace. The only item left behind in the empty unit was that mirror. Determined to end the haunting, Daniel hired professional movers to take the mirror out of the apartment once and for all. Despite their best efforts, the mirror would not move. It felt as if it were part of the building's foundation, resisting the physical strength of multiple men. One mover looked into the glass and immediately ran out of the building. He refused to say what he saw, and he never came back. Desperate to destroy the object once and for all, Daniel took a hammer and shattered it into hundreds of pieces. Even in pieces, the mirror remained in the room. It had successfully resisted extraction and survived its own destruction. Daniel went to sleep believing the thread was gone, now that the glass was in shards on the floor. At midnight, the trap reset. Every single broken shard on the floor began reflecting the same funeral scene simultaneously, but the image had changed. The coffin in the center of the crowd was now empty. Daniel's reflection was now standing behind the casket, looking directly at him. The visual indicated that the window of time to escape was closing. The projection continued unabated. The phenomena was tied to the space itself, persisting even after the object housing it was destroyed. Daniel left the apartment that morning and never went back. He abandoned his belongings and the lease, prioritizing his safety over his deposit. Months later, he searched for the address online. He found a post from a new tenant who had recently moved into the unit. The new tenant posted a photo of their bedroom. Hanging on the wall was the same mirror, perfectly intact and showing no signs of the damage Daniel had caused. The apartment had restored itself. Every trace of Daniel's struggle was gone, and the room was exactly as it was when he first arrived. The apartment operates on a 4-phase loop: the lure of low rent, the rule to cover the glass, the escalation of breaches, and final consumption. By leaving early, Daniel triggered a reset, bypassing the outcome and allowing the system to start over. This system targets people through their financial needs, providing a solution in exchange for a presence in the room at midnight. The apartment is back on the market, perfectly repaired, and waiting for the next person who can't afford to say no to the price.